Hi guys, and welcome to Fix Savers. Today we're doing a video specifically on how to flare your lines for your heat pump installation. Let's take a look. Now, to be able to flare one of these refrigerant pipes, you are going to need one of these tools. This is just a standard flaring tool. These are available on Amazon. They're not that expensive, and we will add some links for you in the video description below, so please do go down and check those out. One very important factor when it comes to buying one of these tools is you get two versions. So the first version is they're a little bit cheaper and they're a little bit more basic, and they don't give you any control on how much pressure you apply to the flare. It's done completely manually. Now, the problem with that is it is possible to over tighten it and to thin out the copper, so you can end up with a really bad connection, a weak connection on your flare. So if possible, you should be looking at one of these ones, which is the type that we will add in the Amazon links. So the main difference with this unit, it has a clutch built into it. So you'll see when we start doing the process in a little while, I'm actually doing the flare on here, when you start to tighten it up, it'll get to a certain stage and that clutch will disengage and it will stop you tightening it any further. That means that you've got to the optimum tightness, and so your flare will be perfect. So they are a little bit more expensive than the ones where you've got to kind of manually judge how much pressure to apply, but they make the job a lot easier, and they can save you a fortune if you do accidentally over tighten one. You end up with a broken line. So for the extra few dollars, it's not even worth looking at the cheaper ones, and these were the only ones you'll find in our Amazon links in the video description below. So I'm going to start with the larger of the two pipes here. So I'm just having a look at it, deciding where to cut. There's actually a little dent just there from the factory, and so I'm going to make sure that I cut lower than that point. So you can use any type of pipe cutter. These pipes are quite soft copper. This is just a ratcheting pipe cutter I've got here. So there's my end. So the first thing you want to do is take that nut straight off and pop it straight back on the line, so that you know that when you create your flare that's already on there. If you forget to put that on and you create your flare, you've got to do the whole process again, because obviously the nut will not fit over the flare. So now I'm just going to grab my little de-burring tool. I'm just going to give it, remember this is soft, you don't want to be doing it with too much force. I'm just going to get rid of any little bits of rough metal. When you're doing the de-burring, make sure that you point the pipe down towards the ground. The reason being, if you do it obviously pointing upward and you deburr, or any little chips of copper are going to fall into the pipe, and you do not want it inside the pipe. So make sure that you're pointing it downward, so any little flakes or grains will literally fall out with gravity. Be nice and gentle with it. Remember, they are soft. Now, the way this tool works, we've got a series of holes in all different sizes, and just down the side here it tells you which hole is which size. So also we need to find the suitable size for our particular line. And I'm going to use my little offcut here. It's definitely not the 1/2 inch, it's actually the 3/8 inch, this particular one. So that's going to be the size that we're working with. The other thing you might want to do is just double check the width of the flare. So I'm measuring from that inside point just there to this point right here, and it's usually 3mm, and you can see that's bang on 3mm. So next we want to put this through, and when we come through we want to make sure before we clamp it that we've got the 3mm, which is the required amount for our flare, just about there. You want to get that exactly 3mm, so that the pipe is sticking past the tool by 3mm. So we're happy we're at 3mm, and we're happy that we've definitely got the nut on the line, so we can go ahead and just press that down, clamp that into place. So the way that this basically works is our metal frame's going to go in this little slot here. You can see we've got this little cone shaped press. You can see it's offset. It's not perfectly straight, and it's designed to be like that, so it's designed to roll out the edge as you wind it down. So this the very tip of that cone will go to the inside of our pipe, and as we screw down, that will start to circle out the flare, and then eventually we get to a certain point where the pressure gets to the perfect amount, and then the clutch will engage on the tool, and that will be job done. So let's get this onto the frame. So just make sure your tool is fully rewound, and you'll notice across the top of the tool here you've got these dimples, and each of these corresponds to the hole that's underneath. So we're obviously in this hole here, so this would be the particular dimple that we're going to be using. And we have this lever on the side of the tool here. As you can see, this brings out this little head here, and that's going to sit inside inside the dimple that you've selected, and that will basically stop that metal frame from being able to slide backwards and forwards. That will hold it in place. So now ensuring the lever's on the same side as the dimples, I'm going to slide this onto the end, slide it down, now you want to make sure that the centre here is in line with the pipe, and as you screw this down, you should find that it starts to find the centre of that dimple. So now we start to tighten the handle. You should be able to see, when you look from the side, that cone going into the end of the pipe there. You have to keep going with that until the clutch kicks in. There it is. See, now it's impossible now to tighten that any tighter. The clutch is kicked in, so we should be at the perfect point. So now we're just going to remove this and take it back out and have a look. So just rewind this now, and loosen off the handle here. Slide off of the frame, open that up, and there's our flare. Now if you've judged the size of your flare correctly, it should look like that, and when you slide the nut over, see how that's a perfect fit inside that nut. You know, if that was an extra kind of 1 or 2 millimeters in diameter, that nut would not fit over that. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for a nice flare where the nut just fits over it. What you don't want is a very small flare. So let's say you judged it incorrectly and your flare was half the diameter of that, so you've only had a very small flare. Then what can happen under pressure is obviously this nut might pull off. So you want to make sure that the flare is as big as possible, but it still fits inside the nut. And that's why we measured it at 3 millimeters for our particular tool. So first stage again is to get the pipe cut off at the length we require. And then first stage, always put that nut straight back on. Then we can give this a little de-burr, remembering point it downwards with gravity, and to be fairly gentle with it, especially the little one, a high pressure line, just because it's so small. So you also want to double check. Yeah, see, this one's nearer 2 millimeters. The larger one we did was 3. This one is 2, just over 2. So again, you want to always double check the flaring distance that you need for when you poke this pipe through. If you did 3 millimeters, you probably end up being a little bit too big. So I'm going to go just over 2 millimeters. So now we need to just remember to make sure that we put this through with the correct distance. Smidge over 2 mil. there's our flare, and again just test with the nut. Yeah, that's a nice snug fit. It goes right to the end. Perfect. So there we go, guys. That is how to create the flares on the end of your refrigerant lines for your heat pump installation. If this video has been helpful for you, please just a quick favour before you leave, please be sure to hit the like button for us. And also please be sure to check out our channel. We have loads more videos, including a full heat pump installation video, which I'll have a link for in the video description below. Please do check that out if you're considering installing your own heat pump. We appreciate it, guys. We'll see you again.